Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am Darren Smith along with Steve Walls, and we bring you the pregame cheat sheet. We are live from Paycor Stadium in Cincinnati, Ohio, where the Kansas City Chiefs take on the Cincinnati Bengals in a late afternoon matchup. Of course, here locally, the game kicks off at 4:25. It is 3:25 back home in Kansas City. Steve, one or two things are going to happen today. Patrick Mahomes is going to fall to 0-3 for the first time in his career against an opponent, or at least against a quarterback, or the Chiefs will get a small little monkey out their back and Patrick will get his first win against one of the only teams that he's winless against.
You know what? I think a lot of people are putting a lot on this game, right? And to be honest, I don't think that it should be that way, right? Like, I understand Patrick Mahomes has lost twice, but that being said, this isn't the playoffs. This is just another regular season game. However, if you happen to meet this team in the playoffs, you don't want to be have not beaten this team and you're 0-3.
But one of the things you want to keep in mind, though, Steve, you got to remember, kind of like how Buffalo felt like they need to get a win against Kansas City, at least at Arrowhead, they feel like they need to get that win. So if they came back in the playoffs, they feel like they have a better chance of beating Kansas City. Now, again, the Bengals have won the last 5 out of 6 games against Kansas City. The last 2, of course, took place in a 1 month span back in January. The Chiefs played here on New Year's Day, lost that game. I believe it was 34-31. And then, of course, they lost the AFC Championship game at Arrowhead in the AFC Championship game 27-24.
Yeah, I think the Bengals are like the little brother, right? I think they are.
Everybody, little brother.
I think the Bengals are like the little brother to the Chiefs. However, they had a couple of good games. I mean, but you got to remember, though, the Chiefs were winning both. They really were. And the fact that a few mishaps on the defensive side of the ball, and it just all things went to hell, right? Like, so I think that being said, the Chiefs know what they need to do. A lot's been made of no Tyreek Hill. How are you expected to win this season? How are you expected to win out? Well, I was talking to someone earlier, and he said, Andy Reid, it's the system. They are playing the system well, so that it made perfect sense. The system being, you can throw anybody in there, and it still works. It still keeps clicking like a well-oiled machine, and I feel like that's what it is.
One of the things that, and look, there's a lot that we're going to talk about as it relates to this game because there's different outlets. And you talked about the system. One of the things that Kansas City, when you talked about how they kind of gave the game away because the Chiefs were in the lead and they were in control of both games again. In the game in January that you and I attended to, Jamar Chase had 3 touchdown catches in that game, and the Chiefs went into the halftime with the lead, and then second half collapsed. But I think the biggest, you talk about mistakes that were made. The biggest mistake was, I think it was 3rd and 15 or 3rd and 18, and Spags went with an all-out blitz, and they hit Jamar Chase, who was with a single-eye safety, and he beat the double team, and
I watched both games earlier this week from last season. And that play that you're talking about, I'll rewind that, and that is the same thing that Patrick does. The same thing, if you think about last season when Tyreek Hill was in the Chiefs uniform, the meme was, F it, Tyreek is down there somewhere. Yeah. There's a reason for that. That's because even though Patrick's looks a little different, it's a little different because of the scramble. However, Joe Burrow didn't have the scramble. He just dropped back and flung it up there, and Jamar Chase, being his athletic ability and being able to catch the football, he was able to win out. Like, do I think that he's going to win that matchup 9 out of 10 times? I don't think so. I just feel like Travaris Ward got beat. Yeah. And even looking at last year, and I don't want to go back to what happened last year, but we were talking about it. So Travaris Ward had some good spells against Jamar Chase. Some of them just ended up being touchdowns. So I think, looking at it now, hindsight's 20/20, and I know Spags, he would probably have done things differently, especially when you're getting beat early on in the game. You don't make the correct adjustments. And
it's interesting you talk about that because there was a time last year where we were wondering where were all the sacks at because, as Steve said, because I asked him about it, I'm like, your defense is predicated on getting pressure on the quarterback, and you're not getting it. So one of the things that we talked about with him this week is the pressure that the team is getting this time around, because in the AFC Championship game, one of the things that Chris Jones said that has haunted him in the offseason and made him work on his game even more was the fact that he, Burrow was in his grass, and I don't know, I can't remember if it was overtime or late in the ball. Late in the fourth quarter, Burrow was in his grass for a sack, and he couldn't get him down. And, now the Chiefs, I think they're top 5 in quarterback pressures and sacks this season compared to what they are last year. How important is that going to be in today's game? Because again, Burrow is a big quarterback. He's not Justin Herbert. He's not Josh Allen, but he's still big enough to where he's elusive enough, even coming off of that injury that he suffered a couple seasons ago, to where he can still escape the pocket and escape a quarterback sack.
I think getting after the quarterback is going to be key today. I think that you're going to have to be able to force him outside of the pocket and force him to have to make some plays. That being said, you look at the secondary is going to have to step up. I mean, I know we're going to talk about it, some of the trash talk that happened earlier this week, but these guys, now they have more of a target on their back, right? So I think you're going to have to, Chris Jones is going to have to not come up empty-handed when he has the opportunity. You're going to have to see Colin Saunders play out of his mind. He brought in Carlos Dunlap, a Terrell Suggs type of player that you brought in, and he's going to have to show up big for you. That's the reason you brought him in for days like today.
When we look at, and we'll start on the offensive side of football for Kansas City and see, look, first of all, last week Kansas City 26-10 winners over the Los Angeles Rams. The Bengals, they won 2016 over the Tennessee Titans. So, look, both teams obviously want to win this game for playoff seeding and control of their own destination. Kansas City, of course, is in control of everything. They just have, if they win out, they get the number 1 seed, they get a bye. Cincinnati, of course, with this win, they could get some maneuvering as well. If Kansas City were to lose this game, they would fall from first to either second or third, depending on what happens with the Miami game later on today as well. So when we're looking at all this and what is at stake, you talk about the Bengals and what they. First of all, I don't think, because we haven't gotten a delayed inactive yet. Doesn't look like Joe Mixon's going to be playing in today's ballgame. I don't think he's gotten out of concussion protocol. They do get back Jamar Chase, who was out for the last 4 weeks with a hip injury. The Chiefs had downgraded Frank Clark to doubtful due to an illness he probably suffered, I think, either last night or while he was on, while he's been on this trip. So we'll see whether or not.
Eating that chili.
I do not disagree with that. But be that as it may, they do get back Joe Tooney. They do get back Juan Thornhill. They'll be without Kadarius Toney again. Matchup-wise, how's it look to you in your opinion, Kansas City facing off against this team today? We're pretty much being at full strength compared to Cincinnati. Will there be most at full strength with the exception of Joe Mixon?
Here's the thing about looking at the offensive side of our first. Here's the thing about the offense going up against this Cincinnati defense. I really believe that you're going to have some difference makers in today's game. Looking at Juju Smith-Schuster, looking at MVS. Cincinnati knew what Tyreek Hill was. He was a deep threat down the field. Someone you had to put 2 people on. You couldn't let him run free. They don't quite know what you're going to get from Kansas City today. That's going to be the interesting thing, right? Like, I think when you factor in, they've brought all these new guys in, Justin Watson, right? Yeah. Like, you know what you're going to get from Travis Kelce, but who else? Who else is going to step up? We hear Patrick Holmes talk about it's always going to be someone new. Fantasy owners, don't just count on one guy, because there's going to be someone new every week. That being said, these defenses, they have to think that same way. It's like, all right, well, if we stop Travis, we got to make sure we cover Juju. We got to make sure we cover all these other guys, and so. That's going to pose a problem, I think, for Cincinnati.
Steve Walls, Darren Smith, we're live inside of Paycor Stadium, where kickoff is a little over an hour away. Kansas City Chiefs, along with the Cincinnati Bengals, kickoff on CBS 4:25 here local time, 3:25 back at home in Kansas City. Look, Chiefs, and you might be able to see a little bit in the background, but The gates have just now opened. There are a lot of Chiefs fans that are here in Cincinnati that have traveled for this game. But there's a lot of Houday folks here too. So
I hear that more time.
Yeah, one more time. Yeah, so there are a lot of Chiefs fans here in Kansas City, here in Cincinnati. Of course, obviously with the Bengals fans. And look, this is a big time matchup. You know, I mean, we look at the slate of games that's taking place today. We look at Tennessee. We look at the Eagles. Their face off against one another. Obviously, Miami and San Francisco will also start along the same time as the Chiefs game. Look at the Sunday night game, the Indianapolis Colts, who probably should have been flexed out, going up against the Dallas Cowboys. But this is probably the premier matchup when you look at quarterbacks that are involved. Joe Burrow, Patrick Mahomes, and look, this is a game where, as you mentioned before, it may be somebody that we don't expect to have a big game that Patrick can see, or even Joe Burrow, that we expected Jamar Chase, even coming off injury, we expect him to do well. We expect Travis Kelce, but outside of that, again, and we thought that with Juju coming back last week, he would have a decent. He only had 3 catches. Yeah. Marquez, I mean, so
that's their MO though. When somebody's coming back, they're always going to limit their time.
But when you look at today's game, is there a particular matchup that you see, or is there a particular player that you think will surprise us that we may be overlooking in this ball game for the Chiefs, for them to come out on top over Cincinnati?
You know what? We talk about the running game all the time. We talk about how much of a lack thereof, right, of a running game that the Chiefs have. Like they don't always go to it. And it seems like sometimes they can come up kind of short if they don't go to it, at least mix it up a little bit. That being said, I think Isaiah Pacheco has to have an awesome day. I think he has to play well, especially if this team wants to go far into the playoffs. I think today is going to be one of those days where you have to showcase him. Now, granted, he had a pretty decent week last week.
22 carries, 60-some yards.
Yeah, it was decent. It was decent. But you've got to feed him some more. I think he's got to get more touches. That 20 to 25 carry mark, to me, is sufficient. And we've heard Andy say, well, we will run the ball, but we know their strength. We know that the offensive side of the ball, they want to throw. It's a passing offense. But like I said, it's got to be Isaiah Pacheco in that running game.
We know that teams, coaches, players have tendencies. One of the things you talked about earlier was Spags and what he likes to do. Yeah. On the defensive side of football, and we'll get to comments maybe, but again, Spags lacking the pressure. We know how that. No. Before we even go there, do you think Andy and Eric Bieniemy learned a lesson from last year in the AFC Championship game where the Bengals, they only rushed 3 and dropped back 8? Yeah. And for whatever reason, they never really adjusted, after halftime to where they couldn't seem to run the football, they couldn't seem to pass the ball, because I think they only scored 3 points, and the rest of the way. I
think you got some youth now with Isaiah. Like I said, Isaiah Pacheco, you got some youth there that they haven't quite seen. Like they're going to be able to run the football. If worse comes to worse, you're going to be able to put it in his hands and run it. Especially with the tandem now, you've got some more fresh blood in there, so you got some more fresh blood in there. And I think now they've learned that to be honest, I think they learned their lesson. You don't want to come up empty-handed where you start off bad or you start off good and you end up bad. They did that 2 games in a row. It just ended up being in the AFC Championship game where it factored the most.
Yeah, that game, of course, going to the halftime, they were up 21-10. I thought it was 21-3, 21-10. Yeah. And only scored 3 points in the second half, including overtime. Was not a good feeling that was left in Chiefs Kingdom's mouth. On the defensive side of football, let's go right into it because we know Spags likes to blitz. We know he likes to put pressure. Do you think that they've learned their lesson, especially after what took place in January?
I think they have, man. Like, I'm laughing because I'm laughing because if you go back and think about it, like, that was their MO. Even going back to Bob Sutton. Yeah. Like, you have a guy you can't get pressure. You got a guy that's going to torch you for 200 yards. And even asking Trent McDuffie that, He said he watched a lot of Jamar Chase film.
Yeah.
Like he said he watched a lot of Jamar Chase film, and I feel like he's ready. To be honest, you're getting youth and youth. Javarius Ward a little longer in the tooth, right? He's a little older, but I think Trent McDuffie's going to be able to match his speed. If that makes any difference, I think he's going to be able to run step for step with him, and I think you just got to make a play on the ball.
Comments that were made this week, and we'll give PJ Green his flowers for asking the question. I'm not sure that was probably his role in doing so.
Shout out to PJ, man.
Shout out to PJ. However, he asked Chief Safety Justin Reed, matchups and stuff about, well, we know what he said. That being the case, injury wasn't too happy about it.
What did he say? What did he say? Tell me what he said.
No, you tell me what he said, because
I mean, basically, Justin said, "Hey,
he's gonna lock some folk up."
Yeah, he said he's gonna lock some guys down. T. Higgins, who is that? Hayden Hurst, who is that? Like, I mean, he gave some bulletin board material.
He did, and Andy wasn't too happy, but. In his defense, Andy said he didn't know. That's not how they do things around here. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure he won't be doing it again.
Good man, good by Andy.
Yeah, pretty sure he won't be doing it again. But look, but here's the thing: if you're the Chiefs, you don't need any bulletin. Because hell, they got 2 L's. They put 2 L's on you.
Yeah.
So if you need any more motivation, then that's a problem. Now, whether or not I'm not exactly sure if that's going to make them come out and play harder, hit a little bit harder. Now, I will say this. Because we're here, how this game turns out, I'm gonna have that microphone in front of Justin postgame if he's not at the podium, and get his thoughts on
And like I said, it does put more of a target on your back. You were to where now you've got to back it up.
Hold on, but quick question though, and let's kind of dive into that. He's their prize free agent. Defensive pickup in the offseason. Perhaps if that's something, by putting the onus on him, maybe he deflects it off of, the D line or something like that. Because look, if you stop and think about it, Justin Reed was known, and we talked about it when they acquired him. He's a hard hitter. Yeah. Now, so, because he's not going to match up man to man on somebody. Yeah. But if T. Higgins or somebody comes across the middle, I do believe that, that Justin will put him on their back and now. What I hope he doesn't do is if he does, I hope he doesn't stand over because you don't want to give him 15 yards. But at least, but if you're Justin, you want to at least, make your presence felt and make your presence announced. So I don't really fault him for going in that direction as it relates to, maybe putting a little, maybe deflecting off of his teammates and putting it on him. But
what it does is puts the Bengals on notice. We haven't had a guy that's come out and said. The last person that came out and did something like that and to the media was Frank Clark, Derrick Henry.
Yeah, we know how that turned out.
And we know how that turned out. So, if you're going to do it, you've got to be able to make sure that your defense is ready to come to play and ready to back it up. Now, do I think that they're ready? I think so. Do I think that Justin Reed is writing a check that he's behind Kane Cash? I don't think so. I don't think so. So I really do believe that Justin Reed, he has a method to his madness, and I feel like he's going to be okay.
We're live here inside of Paycor Stadium. Darren Smith, Steve Walls. This is the pregame cheat sheet. See, one of the things that unfortunate that we haven't really had to discuss over the last couple of weeks has been special teams as it relates to Harrison Bucket. Still dope, but when it comes to the punt return, I think we finally got something definitive. I think we finally got something definitive to where Kansas City is not going to put Sky Moore back to the back. I know. We were wondering about that. Like 3 times he's muffed the punt. Like how many times does he have to muff a punt for you to realize you need to have somebody that's back there? But I do believe that Trent McDuffie. Trent McDuffie is going to be the one. If not Trent McDuffie, then Justin Watson is going to be the one returning punts. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, you gave it a shot. You gave it a try. You gotta make sure that you got somebody back there that's qualified to be able to do the job. Trent McDuffie, and I did ask Trent about that. What did he tell Sky? Like Sky was one of those guys that had never done punt return before. What did he tell him at the beginning of the season? He said, look, in training camp, I told him, I gave him a few pointers, on what to do. But punt return, and I'll say it, and we've heard Coach Reed say it, we heard Coach Dave Tobe, Chief Special Teams Coordinator, said, punt return is one of the hardest positions on a football field. I mean, you've got to gauge the guys coming at you, whether you want a fair catch, whether you want to catch it, and which direction you're going to go. So you got to be a special type of player to be able to do that. And to be honest, I just think it wasn't Sky's role to be able to do it. It's just something that he's not good at. But they gave him the opportunity. They gave him the opportunity, right? And here we are. Because you gotta know when you're wrong. You gotta know when you're able to call it and say, "Hey, I can't do that."
But this is the one thing that, as a fan and as a media person, kind of aggravates you about the Chiefs, because they can be stubborn to a fault. The first time it happened, and then it happened. Okay, it happens. Rookie, boom, boom, boom. Then it happened again. It's like, okay, maybe this is a pattern. You don't do anything. Well, you do bring in Kadarius Toney, but he ends up getting hurt.
Yeah.
Third time it happens, it's like, look, man, this just ain't working out. So but I also know that Dave Tobe said that they're going to give him another opportunity to do it. I'm like, what do you not seem to understand that look, to let the man be a wide receiver. He's not Tyreek Hill. He's not McCall Hardman. Everybody that's a wide receiver is not built to return kicks.
One of the good things, though, and I hope you noticed this, is that they went right back to him. They let him know we still trust him.
Well, that's what I talked about. We're talking about returning kicks or wide receiver.
Just to let him know, like, hey, you fumbled, we're still coming back to you.
Well, yeah,
I mean, that's what you can. No, because remember when you had some guys that early on, let's go back 2 seasons ago, when guys fumbled, we didn't see him play again.
We can go back to Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt's very first carry was a fumble, and then his next carry, he goes and balls out against the New England Patriots. So no, I mean, the Chiefs will always give you a chance to redeem.
Not always. Not always. You get Shady that's out there. He gets very. You got some guys that have not seen the field.
Hold on. But he fumbled a number of times too.
Sky fumbled a couple of times.
Well, and Sky, but Sky, it's a difference. Sky's never returned a kick. Shady just didn't see the field no more. That's a big difference, you know. And so, So as you see, we're live inside of Paycor Stadium, the formerly Paul Brown Stadium. Steve Walsh, Darren Smith, pregame cheat sheet, live inside of Cincinnati, Ohio. One thing that I would tell you all first and foremost is do not eat the chili here. I miss King Bobby.
He speaks for himself.
I miss Case Barbecue so much right about now. That's our sponsor. But Steve, just talk about the atmosphere. Look, we'll get back to the game, but just talk about the atmosphere, what you're feeling right now here inside of Paycor.
It's a playoff atmosphere, man. This is one of those games. We heard it early on in the season. There's Josh Allen, there's Joe Burrow, and there's Patrick Mahomes. The guys that are in the AFC that are up at the top of their game. I mean, you have Lamar Jackson in there, but he's kind of faded off a little bit. But those 3 guys are all being compared who's best, right? And I think now you have the game where 2 of the best are going head-to-head. And so fans know it, and I think it's going to be a great game.
What I like about it is that, again, you say it's like a playoff atmosphere. The players feel it. We talked about it before going on the red hour that this was a game that players had circled. I mean, obviously, you look at Tampa Bay that game because of what happened in the Super Bowl, but that's only for select. But most of the players outside of most of them on the deep side football, but most of the rookies weren't here, along with some of the free agents. But most of the team that was here know what took place back in January. Both times, New Year's Day and then of course the Asian Championship game. So you cannot not be ready for this particular ball game. And so if you don't come ready to play, here's the thing. Andy always takes the he didn't get his play, he didn't get his team ready today. There's no excuse. How can you not be ready to play?
And to that point, sometimes you can be overly ready, which is why I think you downplay it a little bit. To where this isn't a get back game. This isn't a rematch of last season. No, this is just another game that's happening this season. Because we know Andy Reid talks about that. This is just another game, right? This is another game, another roadblock to get to where you need to go.
And look, the biggest thing is you just want to go 1-0. Go 1-0. Don't worry about the last game. Don't worry about trying to go 6-0. Go 1-0 because
sound like a true coach.
I mean, we pick up a little stuff from all this coach speak. Teaching the players to teaching the backups to be starters and stuff like that. So, but no, I do like the atmosphere. I mean, dude, if you look behind us, there is a lot. I mean, it's a lot of green seats too. So don't get us wrong. But it's a lot of orange.
I'm in the Meadowlands.
Between red and orange, I mean, it's gonna be some color clashing today on television. So let's look at it on the defensive side of football. If you're Cincinnati, how do you stop the combination? At least try to slow down the combinations of Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. I mean, this is, we talked about it, and I think I joked about it, that to me, Patrick Mahomes is the new Tango and Cash and Tango, where we've talked about it to where Brady was great, but one of the reasons why he was great because he had a Rob Gronkowski. Patrick Mahomes was great. One of the reasons why he had a Tyreek Hill for the first 5 years of his career, but he's also had Travis Kelce. What do the Bengals need to do to try to keep them from losing this game against the Chiefs?
And you want to keep Patrick Mahomes out the field. That's what. If you look at just great teams, and I'll go back to Bill Belichick. What do they want to do? Take away what you do well and try to keep Patrick off the field. It's gonna. But the Bengals have a little bit. They feel like they have a little bit too much firepower for that. They know that they feel like they can go toe to toe. I think sometimes that can kind of hurt you in the long run. But look, they have some great defensive guys. I mean, you look at DJ Reader at nose tackle, Sam Hubbard at defensive end. You got Trey Hendrickson, BJ Hill. I mean, you still look. This was a game I had circled because of Eli Apple. This is a game that I had circled because of Eli Apple. I know McColl's on IR. He's not playing. Tyreek Hill is not here anymore. But even talking to McColl at the Super Bowl, this past Super Bowl on Radio Row, and he even said that this is one of the games that he had circled because of Eli Apple. He said, I'm going to see him again, and he know why I'm going to see him again. So I think Eli talks a good game, but we haven't heard much from him.
No, we haven't, but I wanted to jump in because you talked to Juju last week, I think, following the Sunday game, and you talked to him because he played for Pittsburgh. So this is a rivalry game that he's already familiar with, granted from a different vantage point, but he talked about how, hey, he don't need to know the history between what happened last year because of that Cincinnati Bengals Pittsburgh Steelers. Talk about his role and how he feels about today's matchup. Yeah,
both he and Justin Reed, because the questions I posed to both of them were, hey, you weren't here last year. How much have you heard? How much do you know about what happened last year? He said, they both had the same response. We know. We know this is the team that we need to make sure that we bring our A games for. We understand the loss that happened during the AFC Championship game. And so to me, they understand that, hey, we want to make sure that we get them back, but they don't want to come out and forwardly say that, right? But Juju did say that he, playing with Pittsburgh, he did face Cincinnati 2 times a year. That was their rival. And so he knows them like the back of his hand. And Justin Reed the same way. He's like, hey, I didn't face them but one time every couple of years. But he said I still understand what it means. This game means for all the guys who were here last year.
We do this each week. X factor. Give me an X factor on offense for the Chiefs. X factor on defense for the Chiefs for them to pull this one out. Who are you going to be looking at? Who do you think is going to be that key player that you're going to be keeping an eye out on that's going to dictate whether or not this team wins or loses today?
The guy that we just spoke about. I think on the offensive side of the ball, it's going to have to be Juju Smith-Schuster. How is he going to help get this team going? Look, we know what MVS can do. Juju didn't give us much last week. He came off of the concussion injury, so he was kind of on a pitch count, so to speak. So I think this week he's going to have to give a lot more than what he gave last week. He's going to have to be that Sammy Watkins type player, the hard nose, go across the middle, make something happen type guy. Now on the defensive side of the ball, it's going to have to be Chris Jones. I think Chris Jones is going to have to make sure that he gets after Joe Burrow. He's going to have to make sure that he's pushing, he's giving some push up the middle, and also not letting them run all over the place because we know Joe Burrow is a mobile quarterback. What do you say?
So I'm gonna go a different direction than you this time around because generally I always go with the line. I kind of go with the line or Nick Bolton. I'll bet you with something different today.
Okay.
I'm gonna start with the defense side of football first.
Okay.
My X factor, Steve Spagnuolo. Because look, again, you have to show. We're from the show me state. You got to show it better than you can tell them.
Of course.
So
of course,
we saw what Jamar Chase did to them just last season in 3 touchdowns. Yeah. Now again, if the Chiefs get in a situation where it's 3rd and long,
what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? Yeah. And so you know, are you gonna leave him? Are you gonna leave him 1-on-1? Are you gonna leave him on an island? Are you gonna try to send everybody out? So I want to see what type of game he calls at different points of the game, especially whether they have the lead or not. But I mean, hell, it could be first quarter. If you're down, if you get them down 3rd and long, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 15 or something, to where they get a penalty to get pushed back, how are you going to attack that? Are you going to try to send that? Are you going to try to send the entire house? Are you going to do what they did? Rush 3, drop 8.
Sometimes history comes back around, right? Like I don't think you play Jamar Chase any different than you did Devontae Adams.
Well,
or Stephon Diggs.
If you do it, because you got to remember, they don't have somebody like Travarius Ward's not here, and so Rashad Finn's not here. So now we've seen what L'Jarius Sneed has done. So and to an effect, we got to see what Trent McDuffie does. And so again, that's the question mark that I have. That's why Steve is my X factor, because I got to see how this game is going to be called and how he goes up against it. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. But again, you can call a great game, but you got to have the playmakers out there to go out there and get it.
My question is, how he calls up it's going to be about the matchup and stuff. Yeah. How do you match up with him this time around, since you don't have some of the players that you had last year, that you got to call those Dunlap, that you got some of these other players. Because Frank Clark played in the first game, and he may not play in today's game, so that's what I'm saying. He's my X factor. On the offensive side of football,
who you got?
Man. You know, I thought you was going to go with Pacheco. A part of me wants to, but he's only beholden on what his offensive line can do. True. Against what they do. So true. Ooh, Steve. I should have been thinking about that when I was asking you. But
who you got?
For the first time, I'm gonna go with Mahomes.
Okay.
And the reason I'm gonna go with Mahomes is this. We see how he is against the competition, against quarterbacks that they try to match up against them. But we also know that he plays well, but then there are times, like we saw in the Rams game, he'll do something careless and throw an interception that or tries to force stuff that doesn't need to, that he doesn't have to do. Yeah. Now, this is one of those games, especially when you go back to, they've already suffered 2 losses, in the same month this year, back in January against this team. So, kind of like Buffalo, you don't want a turnover start messing with your psyche and stuff like that, to where you start trying to feel like you got to force stuff. Because if he throws the pick 6 or if he throws an interception, they come down and score. Now you've got to climb out of that hole, and now he might try to start forcing things to where. So that's why he's my X factor in today's game. Your thoughts?
I mean, I would agree with you. Now, normally, I either say Mahomes or running back, but I mean, I agree. Yeah, I mean, this team is only going to go as far as he can go, right? Like we've seen Mahomes say, "I'm not going to let my team lose." We've seen that, and so that being said, he has to come out and have an A game. Again, this isn't a Sunday night game, but it's still a primetime game because everybody's going to be watching this game.
And by the time kickoff,
it'll be dark.
It'll be dark.
Yeah, everybody's going to be watching this game. This is another one of those games. It's a prove-it game to prove, even though he shouldn't have to, but he's still putting that in situations to say, hey, you've got a Josh Allen. You've gone toe-to-toe with Josh Allen and not back down, and still proving why you are a winning quarterback. Now you got I'm gonna call him a young guy. That's his little brother, man. Joe Burrow is Patrick Mahomes' little brother. To me, to be honest, and
I don't know. They might be the same age.
it's the reason why. And the reason why.
Joe Burrow kind of old.
Yeah, he stayed in college 4 years, but I think the reason why I say that is because Mahomes has done a lot in this league before Joe Burrow was even out of college, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Burrow is trying to get to where Patrick is going on his second regular season MVP. So that being said, I mean, it's still Patrick Mahomes' game to lose, and I like that pick of Patrick Mahomes.
Thank you. Okay, so it all comes down to, Steve.
Yeah.
Picks, game picks. Set the stage one more time. The live Paycor Stadium, Cincinnati, Ohio. Late afternoon game of the week on CBS. You've got Kansas City Chiefs in a rematch against their AFC Championship opponents, the Cincinnati Bengals, who they lost to in overtime in Arrowhead Stadium. This game, of course, was played back in January, and that game was won by the Cincinnati Bengals 34-31. Steve, when it's all said and done, who walks out of Paycor tonight with the win?
It's gonna be a close game, man. But look, early on in the week, I said, you know, this team's gonna come out there and really put forth a huge effort to beat the doors off of this Cincinnati Bengals team. But I think it's gonna be a close game. I'm walking it back. I'm you looking at me like I know this dude did not just say that, but I'm gonna walk it back. I am. I'm gonna go with. No, we ain't got all day. Clock's ticking. But no, I'm gonna go with Chiefs 31-27. Remember, it's a race to 20. It really is. It's a race to 20, and whoever gets there first.
Well, it's really a race to 30. But
I mean, race to 30. Race to 30.
You're fine. But I'm laughing because, I know the last week you were talking about 47 points. Right?
Yeah,
what was the original score Monday?
It's like 41-17.
Yeah, I was just like, all right.
Now they come out here and do it, I'm gonna be so upset. I'm like, oh, come on.
But I'm cracking up laughing because I had already posted online my score, and I think I mentioned that because it was either 3 or 4 point difference. But my prediction for this game is Chiefs 31, Bengals 27. And so when you said, I was like. I'm cracking up laughing like, hold on, this ain't that little 27 point. I'm like, I couldn't see that happening. But yeah, I think the first quarter, I think Chiefs kind of get a feel. I think both teams get a feel themselves on the opening drive, and then after the opening drive, I think that's when things are about to start picking up, and we see how these teams start faring each other, and then I just think that's when the jabs are going to be thrown, and then saying some knockout blows will come late in the ball game. But at the end of the day, I still think for whatever reason, it's going to be a matter of who has the ball last. Who has the ball last? And I think, look, all I know is if Kansas City has the ball last, then I give them out.
But you don't want that. You don't want to come down to that. I don't want to come down to that.
Look, I'd rather Chiefs be up 31-20, and they just score a late touchdown. Saying to cover our prediction. But be that as it may, I mean, we both got Chiefs. Now hold on. Now this is what I noticed. Now you and everybody else, y'all always get on my head. Oh, Darren, you picked them to go 19-0. I have yet to see a week that you have picked against the Chiefs. At least I'm better at to go 19-0, but you pick the Chiefs every week. Yeah. So I'm just curious. So why is that, Steve?
I mean, to be honest, they should win every game. They should. On paper, they've been better than besides Buffalo, and the Chargers at the beginning of the season. They've been better than all the teams on paper. So it's just a matter of them being able to execute. Yeah.
I'll just give you a hard time, but I did think about that. Like, wait a second. Every time we do a prediction, y'all predict the Chiefs to win, but then jump on me for to go 19-0.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Okay. That being said, before we get out of here, Steve, as always, we have sponsors to thank. Go ahead, take it away.
Well, first of all, we want to thank our show sponsor. I want to thank Gates Barbecue. Real quick, we're going to have a quick message from our friends over at Gates Barbecue.
Football fans, you can't spell Gates without Gates. And great tailgates start with Gates sauces and seasonings. Named synonymous with mouth-watering tailgates. When you make your list of tailgate essentials, add Gates sauces and seasonings to that list. Spice up your tailgate experience with that unmistakable great taste. Available in 4 tantalizing flavors. Classic, sweet and mild, mild and hot. Find it at your local grocer, and if you don't see it, ask for it. Visit GatesBarbecue.com to purchase any of the great sauces and seasonings. Great tailgates start with Gates.
Now you still got time. If you were still in Kansas City, you still got time to go and grab you a mixed plate. What would be your go-to meal today, Darren? If you were like, all right, let me run the Gates on 12th and Brooklyn,
okay.
on 47th Street, on State Line, which one would you go to?
I would go to the one on State Line. Not State Line. I personally go to the one on 40 Highway.
Okay.
But if I wanted wings, because I know you like the wings are fire, I would go to the one on Main Street for that. But normally, I would get a slab. I'd get some fries. I don't like my fries crispy. I like them soft. Put the high season on it with some sweet and mild sauce and a medium order of baked beans. Okay. What about you?
Me, I'm going with the mixed plate. Give me a crispy fry, sauce. Make sure you get a large bean on the side, extra pickles, heavy on the sauce on that mixed plate. All beef.
Hey, quick story, and true story too. I was in high school and we had a tournament down at the Municipal Auditorium. This was I think Derek Hood's senior season, but Ollie Gates was like an honorary coach. Yeah. And for whatever reason, he didn't think our team was going to win. I'm like, dude, we won the top teams in the state. So I bet him that I started gambling early. Yeah. I bet him that we would win, and if we won, he'd have to give me a mixed plate. He would, and he said okay. So what happened? Eagles came back from behind. Yeah. They won. And Coach Bush is taking me home. I'm like, Coach, you got to stop by Gates. I said, no, Coach, we got to stop by Gates. He's supposed to have a mixed plate for me. He said, oh, okay, Darren. So we drive by Gates Barbecue, and it's pouring down raining. Mr. Gates is standing outside with somebody who like P. Diddy with an umbrella over him, standing there holding the mixed plate waiting on him. So that's been my dude. That's my, I don't care what y'all say. Gates is my place. That's my man, 50 grand, because of that alone. But that's what I'm doing now. From here, I ain't touching the chili. I'm going to find a Checkers. I'm going to find a White Castle. Papa Do's here. Yep. But I don't know what they – look, the food is so bad here that in the press box, as you walk –
you said it, not me.
As you walk towards to get the food, it gets darker and darker. Now, you know I ain't lying about that.
I had the lasagna. The lasagna was pretty good.
Anyway, but look, the atmosphere, you might hear it. You see the people you see the fans in the crowd. We want to thank everyone. But, Steve, who styled you, man? We got to let people know who dressed us.
If you want to make sure that you want to thank my friends over at Dillard's on the Rosa, make sure you go out and check them out. Talk to Astra Heather when you go in there. I had to go with the blue velvet today. It's kind of chilly out here, and it might not look like it because you're standing in the sunshine. We don't have our coats.
It was sunshine. We're in the shade now.
It's still pretty chilly. But yeah, like I said, go out there and talk to my friends over at Dillard's on the Rosa. They'll take care of you. Ask Heather to get whatever you need for your game day.
I want to thank, as always, Todd White, Todd Clothiers, and Taylor Suits getting you styled right for this. He's located 2 different locations, 21st and Broadway, along with Ward Parkway Mall. Look, we want to thank you all for your support. We appreciate you tuning in. Next week, we'll be doing the show live from Denver. And then the following week, we'll be doing it on the road for the Houston Texans as well. No, burn-ins. Steve likes the burn-ins. I like the burn-ins. Well. I just don't do the chop stuff, but it's all good. But we have to make sure you follow us on our respective platforms at Steve Walls KC and Darren Smith WHB. After the game, tune in. We'll bring you the post-game show from the field. We'll also bring you post-game coverage inside the locker room along with the post-game presser with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. So, for Steve Walls, I'm Darren Smith. This has been the pregame cheat sheet.
Oh, real quick, make sure you join us tomorrow for the Red Hour. Myself, Darren Smith. I'm laughing because we got some Kansas City fans. I'm laughing because we got some Kansas City fans that are in here. It's a lot of Chiefs fans. They're here. We're getting invaded by the Chiefs fans right now. All right, here's the thing. We've got Chiefs fans that are all around us. We've got Eagles fans that are all around us as well. But like I said, remember, join us tomorrow for the Red Hour, live from Soiree Steak and Horse House. Myself, Darren Smith, Uncle Sean Tyler, and also DJ Q, 6:30 to 7:30. We'll be there. Look, meet us there. Doors open at 5 p.m. We're going to have all Chiefs and maybe joined by a few players. For Steve Walls, for Darren Smith, we got it.